Hey bros, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Lattafa release, His Confession, which is quite interesting looking. This one I got from Fragrance Buy. It was just under 38 bucks, so you could just round it and say it's about $40 right now. I'll have this one linked in the description. Feel free to check it out down there. Let's just jump straight into it and take a look at this presentation, and we can start talking about what this is. So first up, the front of the box. You have the name of the fragrance, name of the house, size, and concentration. It's an eau de parfum. There's a little window up in the corner there where you can see the top of the bottle when you first get this in, assuming that it hasn't jarred itself loose, which mine was. It was basically like flopped forward in here, so it looked like its face was pressed up against the window like it was being held hostage or something. Nothing on the sides, nothing up top. On the back, you have a lot of information and your sticker of authenticity up in the upper right-hand corner there. On the bottom of the box, in black ink, you have the batch code, so it's fairly difficult to read. The box opens up like so, basically like a little book here, and your bottle sits inside of this foam cutout. And there is a little write-up right here, which is a choice. Let's go ahead and read this together. Story time. His confession. I must confess, your aura inspires me to lead with confidence through my days, encouraging me to explore the unknown. You bring power to my mind and warmth to my soul, making you irresistible. Tonka, you are my passion. What? That's about Tonka? Somebody has an unhealthy obsession with the Tonka bean.
Ain't your fault you find me irresistible. It's just that God looked down on me one day and smiled all over me.
I must confess, your aura inspires me. You bring power to my mind, making you irresistible. Tonka bean. Like, okay, I thought that would be written about a person, but apparently what his confession is holy frig, I love me some Tonka. Fair enough, we all have our vices. And here we have the bottle. Very interesting style here. On the front, you have the name of the house and the name of the fragrance. And you'll see it has little parts that are almost cut out and has like a liquid gold kind of effect to it. And that's very reminiscent to Eclair, another Lattafa fragrance, at least in terms of that styling that they have going on here. So I'm wondering if this is gonna be something that we see more of with Lattafa bottles, this kind of melty gold effect. Definitely stands out if nothing else. On the bottom of the bottle, you have a little sticker, and then of course the cap. You can't go without mentioning the cap. It's very attention grabbing, has this bust on top of it, reminiscent of like Greek or Roman sculpture. There's a little golden chunk taken out of his neck, which does not look healthy. And his neck is quite long. He's kind of like stretching it out there, you know, rubber necking, giraffe necking. And then he's got a little gold, almost like mask across his eyes there. Very attention grabbing, like I said. And it's actually surprisingly not that heavy. It looks like it would be, but it's really not. The bottle though has decent heft to it. Let's go ahead and share a couple sprays. Here we go. Atomizer is all right, gets the job done. So, how does His Confession smell? What's it good for? And is it worth that about $40 price tag? So right off the rip, this one is essentially a clone or an alternative to Celine's Black Tie. And if you have never smelled that one, it could remind you a little bit of a number of different fragrances that are iris forward. So things like Gentleman Eau de Parfum from Givenchy or Dior Homme Intense from Christian Dior. A little bit in that style, but it's not exactly like those. It is closer to Black Tie because the iris that's in here, while it is very prominent, doesn't come across as much of a lipstick style, makeup-y style. Now, I'm not saying it's devoid of that because you do get a bit, but again, it's not as much as Gentleman or Dior Homme Intense, Valentino Uomo Intense, stuff like that. So when you first spray this one on, it's very rich. You have a nice warm spiciness off the top, a good amount of cinnamon in there at first blast. You have this resinous warmth and sweetness from benzoin and vanilla that you pick up right away. That iris is noticeable as well. Very classy, really well done. You have a hint of freshness off the top, just a little bit basically when you first spray it on. So I'll go ahead and spray it on skin here. And I will say, if you spray this one on and you immediately stick your nose into it like I just did, like that, like a Momo, then you're gonna get a little hint of rubbing alcohol for about 15 seconds. So I would just let that settle for legitimately that long and you're good to go. Or just, you know, smell it like a normal person. You'll be good to go then also. But yeah, a little bit of freshness off the top, just a tiny hint, mandarin orange in there, a little touch of lavender. More of that warm spiciness, that sweetness that comes through from smoke, from incense, wafts throughout the fragrance from the opening into the mid, into the dry down as well. And while I've been talking about, you know, the iris that's in here, the bit of incense, the spices and everything, on the inside there, as we read, Tonka is what his confession is. Tonka, you are my passion. And also iris and vanilla. Maybe cinnamon, incense as well. Come to think of it, I actually enjoy patchouli also. That's also a passion of mine. But yeah, there's this whole thing in here. Tonka, it is there, but it's kind of blending together with the vanilla, which makes sense because Tonka a lot of times has vanillic aspects to it. But you can pick that out as the fragrance dries down, that Tonka mixing with the vanilla. And the way that it's done in the dry down is not too dissimilar from one of the fragrances I mentioned before, Gentleman Eau de Parfum. The way that the Tonka and vanilla mix in that fragrance, you get kind of similar vibes going on here as it hits that dry down. Woo. Very classy, sexy, perfect for fall and winter time, a great evening scent. And even though 40 bucks is, you know, not on the more affordable side of cologne fragrances, that's kind of upper mid as far as pricing goes, I think it's worth it. Presentation, obviously, stands out for better or worse, but you know, it's definitely doing its own thing. And at least it's not just a stock bottle with like a, you know, cheap cap on the top. That cap is unique. So even though it is in that upper mid price range, it feels like you get what you're paying for. It doesn't come across as smelling cheaper than that cost. So honestly, anything under that, like if this drops in the future to like 30 bucks or something like that, that becomes even more attractive. As I said, perfect for fall and winter evenings. It'd be a good date night fragrance. It'd be a good night out fragrance. Also, you could wear this casually. In terms of performance, it lasts a good amount of time. Like the longevity is there, but the projection is a little more moderate for me. So when I first spray it on, it projects quite well. I can pick it up easily, but after a while, once it hits the dry down, it sits a little bit closer to the skin and it's not really like a beast mode fragrance. You know, it's not filling up the room. It's not projecting, you know, 10, 15 feet or anything like that. Not that I would necessarily want it to, but still. Though to be fair, black tie is not a really super powerful fragrance. So it's actually easily on par with that one, if not stronger. So there is that. When you view it that way, that it's actually a little stronger than the fragrance that it's a clone of, yeah, at the end of the day, this is something that is right up my alley. I love the way this stuff smells. Very slightly powdery iris, kind of creamy as well. Rich, warm spices, ambery, vanilla sweetness, touch of smoke. Really well done. And it's blended very well from the opening into the mid into the dry down. So there's never a part of this fragrance where you're smelling it and you go, oh, this part is kind of weird. This note sticks out. This doesn't work that well. There's none of that. And so if you're a fan of Gentleman Eau de Parfum, Dior Homme Original, Dior Homme Intense, Black Tie, obviously, Valentino Uomo Intense to an extent, fragrances like that, you'll probably love this. And it came out at the proper time of year, which is something that has not happened a whole lot this year, actually. We've had fragrances that should have been, you know, out in summer, coming out, heading into fall. We've had fragrances that are, you know, reversed, that should be coming out in fall and winter, that came out in spring or summer. So this one coming out now actually makes sense. So that is Lattafa, his confession. His confession is that he loves Tonka, but then the fragrance is actually kind of an irisy amber vanilla with spices throughout. So I don't know that his confession was spot on there.
His confession has meant nothing.
Although Tonka is technically a note in here and it does blend together with vanilla very well, so I guess we can give it a pass. So there we go, guys. His confession, again, linked in the description. Feel free to check it out down there. As always, thanks for hanging out with me. Stay safe out there, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.